Welcome back to Let the Brothers Speak, where the real ones pull up, clock in, and speak out. Today, we're digging into something a lot of us are feeling but don't always talk about: workplace burnout. The World Health Organization has officially labeled it as a legitimate diagnosis, and trust is about time. From stress stacking up to feeling like you're running on fumes, this ain't just being tired. This is full-blown health crisis hiding in plain sight. We're breaking down what it is, how it shows up, and why companies love to ignore it while squeezing every last drop out of you. So if you've ever stared at your computer wondering if it's you or the job that's broken, yeah, this one's for you. Let's get into it. Roll the intro.
Welcome to the show. Cartoons Radio. Coming at you live.
All right, so here we are. We back at it again. The fellas are here with us. What's going on, guys?
What's up? How y'all doing, man? Nice to be back for another week.
Yes, it is.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Man, it's been a nice little week.
Yeah, you still on retired time.
I'm on that whatever clock, man.
Right.
On that whatever clock.
You don't have no time frame.
Must be nice.
Right. I'm gonna be like you when I grow up.
It's beer 30, wine 15, liquor 45.
Can you say that again to make sure we got it right? Is what?
It is wine 15, beer 30, and liquor 45.
Got you.
All right. And that's at any time of the day, right?
Any time of day.
Right on.
In that order?
It may be. You hope it ain't no 420 at 420.
Oh, okay. We really retired, ain't we?
Yeah,
we retired. Huh? So you all had a good week though?
Yeah, really good week, man. I celebrated 46th birthday.
Well, that's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Of course, happy Father's Day, early Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Just want to make sure I say that a lot of us fathers do exactly what we're supposed to do, not only working with our kids, but working with other people's kids in the community and things of that nature. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I love you and God bless you for everything that you do.
Absolutely.
All right. Mike? Oh, well, we already know what you've been doing. You ain't been doing that. You've been chilling. You already said all yours. 5:30. I mean, beer 30.
Wine 15. Beer 30.
Beer 30.
Liquor 45.
Liquor 45.
And maybe a little bit of
420 at 420.
420 at 420. All right. Me, I ain't been doing nothing really. I just been at work, just preparing. I gotta go out of town here for the job in the next week, next weekend. So there won't be any shows coming up the next couple weeks because we got live still, and so we'll be back though.
Well, R&R.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
We're gonna go right into kind of like the topic we're talking about today too. So
yeah, so we gonna, so let's just jump right in, man. We're talking about this workplace burnout. So I think, Mike, you want to tell us exactly what it is?
So according to the World Health Organization, based upon what they have said, they are accepting workplace burnout as an official diagnosis. So what is workplace burnout? According to the World Health Organization, burnout is characterized as exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, or feelings of negativism and cynicism, and reduced professional efficacy. Now, there's other things that get involved in it. So what I like to do is I want to talk about how I found out that I was dealing with some of those symptoms. You know that you're dealing with workplace burnout when you're at work and you're numb. You're just there, you're doing your job, but you're not happy with the job. You would rather not be there. In fact, you find ways not to be there. So one of the things that people are doing now is they're using FMLA as a way to get off of work. Now, according to this statement, the World Health Organization has acknowledged it as an official diagnosis, which means that your doctor can actually give you things like family medical leave for those things. Now, my suggestion is to seek a therapist. If you're dealing with things of you're taking rest and you wake up and you're still tired, or if you're dealing with insomnia, you're because you're stressed out from your job, maybe even waking up in the middle of the night worried about whether or not you're late for work, even though it's the middle of the night. Those things burn on you. So jobs that tend to have those problems are normally jobs that are highly stressful, like law enforcement, fire departments, teachers, manufacturing jobs that require a lot of you with very little time to blow off that stress. And last week you were talking about being able to blow off stress, just like when we were talking about shaking the soda and it blows, it has no place to blow off. So when somebody pops that cap, it goes everywhere. And that's what happens. A lot of people blow off at the wrong time. It could be at work, it could be at home. You're mad at your significant other and they did nothing to you, or your family members. They did nothing to you, but it blew off at the wrong time. So one of the things that, from my experience, I've literally been thrown out of work because my supervisor said that my efficacy was not to her standards, even though the job was spreading me thinner than mayonnaise could spread, but I was dealing with that. I'm trying to keep up with all this stuff and I couldn't get it all done. And it was just because it was highly stressful and I had no place to blow it off. Now, one of the things that I try to do is go fishing. I try to talk to other people that may be able to, take me down off of that cliff.
Yeah.
But one of those things is you need the right people around you, because a therapist is probably your best bet. But if you can't afford that, find some people that you can talk to, an older family member, friends that can understand what you're going through to help you get from that, because it's highly toxic when you hold on to that. It starts manifesting itself in pains like back pain, neck pain, stomach pain, gastrointestinal pains. So, that's one of the things that I honestly say, hey, this is something that we need to address, because we as Black men, we're getting it from all different ways. We're getting it when we're walking in the street because of our color. We're getting systemic issues. Then you go into work and you're dealing with this stress, and then that burnout pops up from nowhere.
Yeah. I would this is a very important topic to me in a lot of different ways. Simply because burnout is one of those things that, in my opinion, that kind of creeps up on you. Right? It's a lot of things that start piling up on you. And as you mentioned, I think it's very important for us, no matter what field you're in, to have those colleagues that you can go to. While I think a therapist is good and you should do that as well, but I think the colleagues are going to be able to understand it from the standpoint they've been in those situations with you, right? They're feeling some of the growing pains and things of that nature. But not only is it good for you to be able to talk to them about it, you have to be able to decompress, but also be able to know what your next move is, right? This could be a venting spot where we can do this, but then you have to have somebody that's your rock to say, okay, now what's the next move? Right? A lot of the times the burnout perpetuates itself, in my opinion, because we're having those same conversations over and over and not looking what the next step would be. Right? We sit in here, we may talk about our boss or something of that nature, but we never take an action plan to the boss, because maybe they're not looking at that. They may be looking at these numbers in a certain way, and so we got to make these numbers and make this happen.
But certainly, too, a lot of times the boss ain't interested in what you got to say anyway.
Well, they're probably not interested in what you got to say. One, because they're trying to meet their numbers and their quota, right? But two, what I found out by being a boss, a lot of the times people don't want to take the information to them for fear of I might lose my job or this,
or retaliation.
Retaliation and things of that nature. And one of the things that I say about leadership is that people should be able to come to you and talk to you about anything. You may not like what they're saying, and you may not can do anything about it at that particular time, but at least you have had a conversation, and that open door policy is really an open door policy. Don't say you have an open door policy, but it's only for stuff that you like.
Right.
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 And so therefore, that's one of the things I'm always encouraging leaders, because I get a chance to speak to a lot of leaders,
Mhm.
right, in different scenarios, whether that's in the school setting, hospital setting,
Mhm.
or just any educational environment where they're training people. And one of the big things we talk about with burnout is that it does creep up on you, but how do we create a safe environment?
Yeah.
I'm not talking like from a safety standpoint, like physically, like where I can come in and I can be able to talk to you about anything and I can discuss this. And then just like Vegas, whatever I say in here, it stays in here.
Mhm.
And then you're not going to use that for me in retaliation, right? And
Mhm.
because all of these things get pent up and you can't take it to somebody who could possibly do something about it, in my opinion, then that burnout starts creeping up on you, right?
Mhm.
It manifests itself like into heart attacks,
Yeah.
right? You get to the point where you're not even taking time off. You're working from, let's say, 8 to 8
Mhm.
as a teacher.
Yeah.
Like 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 at night. You're doing lesson plans, you're doing all these things, and you start doing things like you're not spending time with your family.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not working out.
Yeah, you're not
Right.
doing the things that you love.
Yeah. You're not doing things to take care of yourself. You're always eating fast food.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Drinking,
Drinking,
drugs.
things of that nature. And then when you do get a chance to do it, it's kind of like I was telling somebody yesterday, we can't get all our exercise in one day. Like, right?
Yeah.
We got to
Right.
kind of split this up. And so when you get a chance to get R&R, you take that cruise and you go all the way out. And then maybe you end up doing something you shouldn't have been doing.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
You may end up in a legal situation based off of that, because you're trying to de-stress and things of that nature. And the first person that says something to you that looks like John at work as your boss,
Mhm.
you go in on them.
Mhm.
Right? And so it manifests itself that way. So I think it's very important that not only that we talk about this, but how do we start devising some of these things? And one of the things I want to try to do is come up with a toolkit,
Mhm.
whether that's breathing, like right there on the spot. A lot of times we need to have some things we can do right there on the
Yeah,
spot, right?
absolutely.
Breathing, getting a drink of water.
Mhm.
People may not think that's a very big thing, but it puts oxygen back in your brain
Absolutely.
because of the water, right? H2O, if that makes sense, right? Breathing as well, right? Slows down your heart rate, gives a chance for that oxygen to come back to your brain as well, right? And
Mhm.
especially if you do it in a certain way, like if you do square breathing and things of that nature, 8 seconds here, then breathe it out real hard on 7,
Yeah.
things of that nature, it just helps to reset your body.
Yeah, one of the
Mhm.
things that we learned in life coaching is to, when you're trying to calm yourself down, is to control your breathing. So you
Mhm.
take a deep breath in and hold it for 4 seconds,
Mhm.
because now you have to physically think about holding that breath
Right.
and then letting it back out slowly. When you're changing that thought, your body's reaction to certain things, you're not just breathing, but you're breathing it in at
It's
a certain pace.
intentionally.
Yes, an intentional thing,
Yeah.
which makes you have to change certain things. But even like we were saying with the stacking of those, of the stressors, it's like a cumulative trauma disorder.
Mhm.
So if I'm doing a job where I'm doing this all day long, right?
Yeah.
After a week or a month, I start getting pains here. Why is it? Because I've been doing this too much.
Mm.
And the same thing goes with that burnout. You're just stacking things, but you're not letting things go. And I don't care how strong you are. If you pick up 1 pound here, 1 pound here, 1 pound here, sooner or later,
Yeah.
it's going to get heavy at the end of a year.
Yeah. I think one of the things that was not discussed in the World Health Organization pieces is one of those characteristics or factors is leadership.
Mhm.
You know, and what I mean by leadership from this standpoint is that, and I'm sure you all experience this in your industry as well, is that there's a job description that you were hired on,
Absolutely.
and every 3 months they add something to it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right? They add this little piece to it on top of what you already have to do.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Then you have to do the point, now I got to document what I'm doing. Then I got to do this to what I'm doing. Then I got to do that to what I'm doing. And you end up with about 30 things to do
Mhm.
on one simple process, right?
Mhm.
And most of the time it's for fear,
Mhm.
meaning like somebody else did something, right? This ain't happened with 90% of the people. It probably happened with 1% of the people. And now we got to put this in as a policy
Mhm.
so we can cover ourselves for liability purposes, but it also decrease production.
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? And I tell people this all the time is that there's only so much a person is going to be able to do their job effectively.
Mhm.
One of my favorite things is that if you're looking for compliance, that's all you're going to get,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
However, if you give people autonomy, collective autonomy to be able to do their job in a way, you'll get more creativity out of the job,
Mhm.
right? But if you're only looking for compliance, that's all people are going to give you. And if you want people to go over and beyond, you got to give them space
Mhm.
to be able to use their interests in themselves as they are as an individual to express that in their job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was looking up while you all were talking. I was looking up the some of the symptoms
Mm-hmm.
of workplace burnout. And these are what some of the symptoms that you should look for. It's called first one is physical and emotional exhaustion,
Yep.
Mhm.
which is constant fatigue. Even after rest, even after you've been asleep for the whole night, you still wake up fatigued, trouble sleeping or oversleeping, frequent headaches or body aches, feeling drained, emotionally numb or detached. Okay. The second one is cynicism and detachment from work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What they're talking about is either loss of motivation or passion, increased negativity or irritability toward coworkers or tasks. You know, you got that one person that just irks your nerves as soon as you walk in the door.
Yeah, they smiling, you ready to punch them in the face.
Right. Avoiding work responsibilities and feeling disconnected from the purpose of your role. The third one is reduced performance and effectiveness, struggling to concentrate, decline in productivity, doubting your abilities, making more mistakes than usual. And the last one is it just says other red flags would include increased use of alcohol, food, or substances to cope, social withdrawal, both at work and outside,
Mm-hmm.
physical illnesses or frequent sick days. How many people you know at work that's always sick? They always don't feel good, or everybody
Mhm.
got somebody, know somebody at work that's like that. So, you know, um, them are just some of the symptoms to look for, you know. Now you want ways to cope with it or deal with it. First thing you gotta do is acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't gaslight yourself. Burnout is real. Naming it is the first step toward healing. Set boundaries. Say no when needed.
Absolutely.
No is not a bad word.
Mhm.
I mean, because I had to tell people that myself. And like, look, you got to quit trying to please everybody. Some things you can say no to.
Absolutely.
You know,
Saying no is saying yes to you.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
know,
So, yep. Yep.
use your PTO. Take them days off. I mean, and I will say this: United States people, Americans are the only ones who try to save they pay time off. In other countries, they encourage their people take your vacation. The jobs,
Absolutely.
the
Mhm.
company, like Denmark considered the happiest place on earth
Absolutely.
because they encourage their employees to take your vacation. They make their employees take your vacation.
Yep. Yep.
Go do something. We not finna. We don't want you here
Well,
unhappy.
if you're not happy, right,
Right.
your performance is going to lag,
Exactly.
right? And when you think about it from this perspective, you got a leader that's telling you, "Hey, use your days," things of that nature, and you
Mhm.
come from a environment where that wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna go even harder for that organization and for your boss in those terms because
Mm-hmm.
they're putting you in a position where you feel like you're valued,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
not even just from a work standpoint, just as a human being. Like,
Well,
Mhm.
it's been proven that if a employee feels valued and appreciated, they're more productive than somebody that is just there doing a job and they're not happy with it.
Take
So-
notes, General Motors.
I think you make a very good point there. And when you go back to the definition where you talked about somebody was looking at their efficacy of you, well, that's why the definition talks about self-efficacy,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? And so it's not necessarily what my boss thinks, it's what I think about this role
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
how I feel about it, right? And that's
Mhm.
why it's very important. Another thing which a lot of leaders don't like to do is that you should survey your staff
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
about things about that you do
Mhm.
and how things could be improved within your organization.
Absolutely.
Ain't happening
Now-
in my job.
Now, some of the things are going to come back. You're going to know Johnny is going to fly off every time.
Mhm.
But there's going to be some middle of the road things where you know people that are cool, calm, and collective, level headed. They're going to give you some information back that you can use for food for thought. And that's the way you can grow as a leader, where you can decrease that burnout for
Mhm.
them, right?
Mhm.
Because the moment I feel like if Chris is telling me something as a leader,
Mhm.
this is how I perceive something. And if I took that information and actually made a change in Chris,
Mhm.
that increases the very good deposits that me and him have.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right. I've just deposited something very good in the bank because like Appleberry actually listened to what I said.
Mhm.
Right. And if I let's say I make about 10 of them, then when I have to go to Chris and make a negative deposit, when I have to make a withdrawal, it won't hurt as bad.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. But if I had a lot of negative withdrawals, well, you're in the negative with me already.
Right.
Yeah.
And you already pulled this with me.
Right.
So therefore, there's no way to go. We still in the negative. That makes
Mhm.
sense, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's very important, like, to survey your staff, right? Make sure that their voice is actually heard,
Mhm.
not just.
And that's the funny thing. I'm not trying to cut you off, but a
ahead.
lot of companies say we're
Mhm.
turning the pyramid upside down and you guys are
Mhm.
the most important resource, right? But then when your resource comes to you,
Absolutely.
you take the criticism like they just cussed you out, but it's honestly, hey, you put too much on me. I can't expect, I throw my child in the middle of the ocean and say, well, swim back to shore,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times that's what companies are expecting their employees to do. You throw them out there and then you're saying, okay, now let's get this. And then they wonder why these people are missing time.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, hold up. These people are struggling. They're struggling. Help them
Let
out.
me give you this perspective. A lot of times, leadership don't know because people don't say anything.
Mm.
I was sitting in a meeting one time, and we finally got people to say something. I was like,
Mm.
"Oh,
Yeah.
I've been wrong."
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right? Because people are not saying nothing, right? And that goes back to creating that safe environment. I got to make sure everybody's not going to be Chris and be outspoken.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So I have to create opportunities
Yeah, for them to
for
speak.
everybody to be able to speak. So one of the things that I do, even when people don't like to speak, hey, you got anything you want to say on this?
Mhm.
And I'll wait, because that silence
Mhm.
forces
Yeah.
them to say
absolutely.
something.
Mhm.
Even if it's no, I don't want to. So at least I've acknowledged you in this
Mhm.
particular meeting. Okay, John, you got anything? Oh yes, I've been waiting on you to say something like that.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. Hey, this is what I think about this, and I think how we can improve that. But here's the step further. Not
Mhm.
only letting them say it, okay, we're gonna do that. But this is how I address that. We're gonna do that. And since you came up with this great idea, I want you to lead this.
Mhm.
Right. And so therefore you can start feeling some of what I'm going through, if that makes sense. Right.
Mhm.
And so you need to get with all these people in here and
Mhm.
we'll start this initiative. And I'm going to work with you side by side with it. But anytime we get up and talk about that idea that you have, you're going to lead us on that.
Mhm.
Right. Now, what does that do? That builds capacity as well.
Mhm.
Right. And so now it doesn't feel like I'm the only person that has the last word in this, if that
Mhm.
makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
And so now some of the stuff you just have to shut down. Like, okay, and of course you're not gonna say it like this, but that doesn't make sense. We can't move in that way, right?
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
that's not safe for our
Mhm.
clients, if that makes sense, right? But by providing those opportunities, even if the answer is no, people feel like their voice is actually
Mhm.
heard, right? And now if you think about if you took a survey based on the benefits that you're receiving, and then 70% of the people said XYZ, and then a company actually make changes to those benefits based off that,
Mhm.
how powerful that would be,
Mhm.
right? And so one of the things that I've been doing lately, especially with this document, is studying the way people evaluate programs, evaluate systems, and evaluate organizations, right?
Mhm.
And that's one of those ways by taking those surveys.
Yeah. Well, it even goes some other things is, as you were stating, it's effective communication.
Mm-hmm.
We've had diagonal slices on this, and they asked us, well, how do you feel? And I was probably the worst person to ask because I told them, I feel like a mushroom. And the person looked at me like, a mushroom? I said, yeah, I'm kept in the dark. I'm fed bull crap. And then when a head pops up, they cut it off. And I
Mm,
said, that's the new corporate America, because they don't want to hear the people on the bottom's opinions. They want what they want. As you said, compliance. You comply to what I want because I'm the person that's running it.
yeah.
But as the Lord says, a leader has to be a servant. And if you're not hearing your people, when them people walk away, like we did on a strike, how did you feel? You couldn't make money.
Yeah.
So you have to think about it, that these people are your main resource, and they're also your eyes and ears that's closest to the customer than anybody that's out there.
Yes.
Well, got any more to add to that?
Well, I would just say, to sum everything up, of course, we can speak about this for
Probably 2 hours.
probably 2 hours, but I really would recommend that everybody look into some of those symptoms that Brother Chris talked about a little bit earlier. When you're looking at the physical piece of that, when you're looking at the mental piece of that, when you're looking at how you're performing it, working well, things of that nature. And it could be a possibility that there's burnout, right?
Mm.
And once you, as Brother Chris said, once you identify it, I think the next step is then you develop a plan to actually start doing some of those things to take care of yourself
And
things of that nature,
absolutely
prioritize that.
prioritize yourself.
But as you develop that plan, don't only develop it, start practicing that
Mhm.
plan,
Mm-hmm.
right? So as we alluded to earlier, start taking those days off. Just like you schedule a doctor appointment, schedule a mental health day for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And most insurance companies even pay for mental health insurance too. They pay for those
And if
psychiatrist
that's
visits.
your day, you go for a walk, you take your dog, whatever it is, you're scheduling that day for your mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can take care of that as well. Then once you are able to develop that plan, you practice that plan, then you want to be able to generalize that in all settings, right? So then it goes back to you being able to say no, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so not feeling like you're wrong for it, not feeling like, I should be doing this. No, your time is your time,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
right?
You have to set
And-
those boundaries and be firm with them.
Absolutely. So again, burnout is very serious. It's something that we probably all have dealt with in some shape, form, or fashion. But once we recognize that, put your plan in place and move forward.
All right. Just remember, no is not a bad word. Remember that. All right. Okay. Well, that's the wrap for today's episode. All right. If you're feeling the weight of burnout, trust you're not alone. It's not weakness. It's a warning sign. Your health matters more than hustle, and rest is not a reward. It's a requirement. Take care of yourself. Speak up when something ain't right. Don't let these jobs work you into the ground. Your life is more important. Okay? If this episode hit home, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Spread the word. Somebody in your circle needs to hear this. Okay? Until next time, keep speaking truth and take care of you. And as always,
Let the brother speak.